All right, everyone, how are you? Welcome to this week's episode of our podcast. It's called Is Breakfast Included? Thanks for stopping by. On the show this week, I talk with Paige McKenna Grube and Stacy Stanton-Runge. Paige is the director of a new film called Gold, the documentary, and Stacy is featured in this film. The documentary explores the empowerment, independence, and societal expectations of the dancers at the Gold Nugget strip club in Spread Eagle, Wisconsin. I want to thank these ladies for stopping by and talking to me about this film. I'm really excited to see it, and I'm really excited for you to hear this conversation. Let's check it out. Tell everyone who you are.
Okay, do you want to go first?
Sure. My name is Stacy Stanton-Runge. Am I supposed to tell more about who I am or just...
Yeah, tell me a little bit about who you are.
Well, as you mentioned, I'm Jim's wife. So he was recently interviewed. I'm Jim's wife. And I am a researcher by profession and a mom, and also one of the stars of the film Gold, the documentary.
Right on.
Quite a list. And I'm Paige McKenna Grube. I'm from Wisconsin, a really small town about an hour south of Green Bay. I work in film professionally. So I work for a commercial advertising company in Green Bay called Shift Visuals for my day job. I'm a florist on the weekends for weddings. Yeah. And I am an independent filmmaker, and this is my second film, Gold, the documentary.
Right on. Right on. Well, thank you guys again for your time. I know it took a little bit to set this up.
Yes.
Normally and thank you, because I'm notorious for cold calling. Like, hey, I saw a blurb on this website and you want to do the podcast? It's so that I'm notorious for this. So thank you guys for doing this.
Yeah, thank you.
You're a researcher, Stacy. You're an independent filmmaker / florist. Have you guys known each other for several years, or did you just meet through this?
We had known each other for a little bit before this. Yes.
Yeah.
Not too long, maybe a year or two.
Yeah, not super long.
And how did the idea of this documentary come about?
Well, we were just talking about that. So I made a first film called Seeds of Life, and it was a documentary that was I filmed it in Haiti right before COVID happened, and it is a story of a woman who's from Brazil, and she has lived in Haiti for about 30 years. So she teaches people there how to be self-sufficient. So she teaches agriculture, farming, water resources, that sort of thing. And so at that film screening in Green Bay, Stacy had approached me. I don't know if it was there or after.
It was at that little Italian restaurant.
Oh yeah.
Remember? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had met up, and then, she had told me like, I saw your film, and I think, you'd be a good fit to explore, this documentary idea. So we kind of got together and started planning. And then I met a couple of the other girls in the film, and it took a little bit for me to kind of gain trust, obviously, and like relationship building, but it was necessary for sure to get the girls to trust me and what I was going to do with the film. So,
yeah, I can imagine you go in there, someone they don't know.
Yep.
A lot of times it's more exploitive. And so was this your idea, Stacy? Was the documentary your idea, or?
Well, I actually made a little documentary about strippers when I was in college. And so I had been a dancer when I was young. Actually only started when I was 17, but then quit when I was 19, moved on with my life, went to college, but always had an interest in really like studying sex work and studying this from a feminist point of view. And so when I became self-employed as a researcher, I'm not going to say that I didn't also like fully like work as a dancer. Like I did. The people who I worked with there like know me as a dancer. But I kind of just went into it on blind faith that like this could also be a story someday. And I still have like, there's definitely like still more to my story too. But when I met Paige, she just really felt like the perfect person to take this and make it her own. And it was really important for me to make it her own. So what you're seeing really is her vision, and she deserves like full credit for that. But yeah, I was kind of passing along that idea to Paige, and I've trusted her completely with it. So.
It's that seems like really cool, very organic. Like it's very rare when someone has an idea that you've been, for lack of a better word, dwelling on. It's just constantly in the back of your brain, and you're like, I wonder, and then you meet someone, you share it with them, and then they go, hey, yeah, this is interesting. We could do this.
Yeah, it was, and it felt so cool, especially compared to like working, like on corporate projects. It was this thing that just kind of like took its own life, and it followed its own course, and like we just let it unfold on its own timeline.
Yeah.
And it's been like 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years so.
Total of working on it.
So what is the basis of Gold? It's not released yet. You're still funding it, correct?
So the film itself is complete. As of about a month ago. And we have our final fundraiser this Saturday, and we're raising funds for film festival entries. So we just want to get it in front of as many people as possible, and get as much exposure as we can.
Yeah.
So
well, let's talk about it a little. I guess you could say dancers, strippers, sex workers, all that. When somebody, anytime you see like an HBO special, it's like, real gritty and real. It's almost like you feel like you got a shower after you've watched it. How did you approach this? Is yours the same way? Am I going to have to shower after I watch it?
Depends. So, I grew up very Catholic, actually. So I have a very religious background. And, I had never actually stepped foot in a strip club until the Gold Nugget. And so I had done research. So I had, gone up to the club a couple of times before starting filming, meeting the girls, and just like forcing myself to be comfortable, I guess. I think it took me a while to not want to like punch every man that was in there because they were looking at the girls. So I found out a lot about myself during all of it. And so the angle,
which is, by the way, a common response to all of my female friends that I bring in there.
I'm like, you go, girl. Yeah. Don't you look at her.
What was your biggest surprise once you started talking to the girls?
How incredibly intelligent, beautiful, down to earth these women are. Like, I myself did go in with a bit of a stigma, and I too thought it was like an HBO type, kind of dangerous, like seedy atmosphere. But really, I felt like very safe at that club specifically. The manager, Jim, is wonderful. He's like, I've never like met a man that immediately I felt like I could trust him with my life. Like he is this crazy, awesome presence. And so, I really just, the journey for me, like at the end of this all now, I was just telling Stacy, like, I have felt like we're family now. And I feel like I go into the Gold Nugget and I feel at home, and I just feel like this sense of, like peace, I guess, with everything. So it's really been a journey for me. And even just like figuring out why I felt uncomfortable in the first place, that sort of journey. So I think just I've grown so much as a person throughout this project too.
How'd your family feel about that? Like when you told them, or have you told them?
I've told them. It's funny because like I feel like I'm kind of with a lot of the girls in this journey where like I know like some of the girls didn't, their family doesn't know that they're dancers. And so, when I told my family I was going to be doing this documentary, they haven't been very supportive at all, unfortunately. So like they won't be seeing it probably. They don't want to hear about it, that sort of thing. And that is, they're the exact target audience I'm looking to to have get this in front of, is just to, have people have an open mind.
Yeah. It's really hard. I come from a somewhat religious background, and any type of talk about anything is very taboo.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like, yeah, we don't talk about that at all. That's what happens behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? And then we pretend it doesn't happen behind
Right.
closed
Well,
doors.
yeah,
Right.
I know. And it's funny because I in my personal experience, like I also grew up very like religious, and any kind of like female sexuality was just like portrayed as something that had so much shame
Yep.
associated with it that it almost like called it out to me more,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and became more salient in my mind rather than less.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've had experiences with that, like working with like, you know, younger dancers.
Yeah. And if I can add too, like, I think it's almost dangerous to not talk about, you know, the sex industry with
Mhm.
with young girls and women, because, you know, you could find yourself in a scary, you know, position someday if you're not educated about it and you don't really know how to protect yourself.
If you don't talk about them, they just see the glamour in it. They don't see the hustle. You know?
I think that will be one of the wonderful things about the film, is to be able to like kind of like say like, hey, maybe this is, if you think this is something that we shouldn't talk about, like how are we going to ever devise any kind of strategies to help push people down the better path?
Yeah. And is that what you focused on? Like, how many girls are featured in the movie?
Yep. So there's 4 dancers, and then the owner of the club, who is a former dancer. She danced in the 90s. So it focuses on, you know, going off of that, your question too, like it focuses on the Gold Nugget as a club, right? So
Okay.
there's, you know, other clubs have, I can't really speak to the women at other clubs, or, you know, even how other clubs necessarily work.
Yeah.
But at this club, you know, the women in the film are all, in my opinion, hustlers and trying to make it work. And you know, like it's telling their, you know, personal backgrounds, their stories, and then, you know, how they got into dancing and what their future plans are too, because that's also important.
And is it almost, this is like a family vibe in this club? Like, is everyone looking out for each other?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, very much so. And I think that sisterhood is like one of the really, you know, like, you know, brighter sides of all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And
And
did you do individual interviews and like kind of go from where they're from? I mean, like, you know, their personal life outside of the club.
yeah, so Stacy and another woman in the film, Stacy's best friend, they kind of carry, I would say you guys carry the film.
Oh, really?
I know she doesn't know this yet. But as like, you know, you guys are intelligent, like overarching kind of you know, coming at it from like a women's studies kind of background, and like business women.
Yeah.
The 2 younger girls in the film, so one of them is from Houghton, Michigan, so way up in the UP. I did go up there without a crew, just me and a camera. So, you know, it's not as production value as the rest of the film, but it's just down and dirty. And she was able to open up to me a lot more, you know, without having 5 dudes in the room, you know, with cameras.
The boom.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was really a great experience. And then one of the other woman, she's from Iron Mountain, so not far. So I went up to her house and like you know, had her, she likes to cook, so she was cooking and baking, I should say, and just kind of talking to me. So I found that, you know, the girls were able to open up even more when it was just me with the camera asking them questions. And so we have, you know, it's kind of there's formal interviews, you know, sit down style with great lighting, beautiful cinematography. And then there's kind of the handheld, just me with the camera, like, but really getting gritty stories from some of the girls. So it's cool.
Were there any girls that were hesitant that aren't in the film that work there?
Yes. Yep. And they actually were okay with an audio interview. So they do make a couple, like one appearance with their audio being used in the film. But you know, one of them was a grandmother and she didn't want, you know, her grandkids to know. And most of it was that they didn't, you know, weren't ready for their families to know that they did this.
Yeah.
So It's unfortunate because, I could have talked to every woman at the club I would have loved to, because it's all different backgrounds. There's mothers, grandmothers, single people. It's the whole gamut of very interesting stories.
It's Stacy. How fortunate do you feel that you met Paige, someone who came from a religious background? Like she said, she wanted to come in and punch every guy in the face. So wasn't ready for that. That you met somebody that came in with a completely, like, I don't know what the hell's going on, but didn't run for the hills the minute she got there.
Yeah, it's so fortunate. So fortunate. It feels actually to me like it was like very much like a meant to be kind of like, this has been like a spiritual journey. I feel that's how I feel. So
yep, me too.
Because I feel someone coming in with no knowledge of that background, just kind of what you think, like what you think happens in there. Someone that would have come in with knowledge, then they've got this shot that's like, oh, work it,
Yeah.
And rather than, hey, tell me about yourself,
Right.
Yeah.
And I've seen quite a few different, documentaries about dancers, and I definitely do feel like this one will stand out, much more. So we're not talking about like, LA or Vegas or the HBO special. Like this is I think it'd be a very different film, and maybe a little bit more like humanized in my personal opinion.
Yeah. And
is that your goal to humanize?
Yes, absolutely. Humanize, empower, uplift. I guess women specifically at this club in this industry, but people in the sex industry. I think I'm hoping that this will help, normalize it, because it's a job.
Yeah. I'll ask you this, Stacy. Are you're a dancer? Do you prefer to be called a stripper, a dancer, a shoe model? I don't know.
Calling myself a stripper. I feel like, I feel like we can call ourselves strippers if we want to. I really personally don't care.
A performer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think and hopefully I'm moving into a next chapter of my life too. I haven't danced in a while. I went back to visit one time and I felt like, I don't even know if I could do it anymore. Maybe.
You could.
So you're in the movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're not performing.
Oh, I'm performing.
She is.
Okay. So you did this just you returned for this documentary.
Yes. And I did I had really quit dancing, but prior to Jim's Parkinson's diagnosis. So I had kind of moved on to some other things, and I do have another project that I've worked on since then. And it was only then that I really found myself in a situation where I had to go back. And prior to that, I maybe didn't need to do it for my survival. And so doing it for survival, put it into a very different, I learned so much more by really having to do it. But hopefully that's not the case anymore.
Are you excited? And you haven't seen the movie, have you?
I'm really excited. I haven't seen it yet. I mean, obviously I've been there for several of the, film interviews, not only just my own, but some of the other girls. So, I mean, I have something to kind of anchor my perception to, but really a lot of it is just been the trust in Paige, which is just, it's all just seemed to, like I said, unfold like it's supposed to. So,
yeah. So are you guys pretty close friends now?
I think we're all,
yeah, we are. And what was I going to say? Shoot. Oh, the trust. The trust means, honestly, I've been telling people, if this film totally flops and everyone hates it in the world, at least the trust that I've gained from the women in the film and the friendships I've made and the family that I feel with them is honestly that's what I did it for. And it's, it's cool to be able to say I was able to cultivate trust with someone. And that's probably one of my biggest accomplishments, honestly.
Yeah. And I feel like, it's been fascinating kind of just watching how this is impacted, you know what I mean? Just your, sense of self probably even. And I feel like that, this isn't just going to be a film that could be for the people who are within the industry. I feel like just average women nowadays could get something out of this. And, that we're living during times where, maybe women are out to reclaim agency, over their body and their sexuality themselves, that it could empower them to feel like they're safe to express themselves sexually in whatever way they want to. It doesn't have to be by going out and being a dancer, but it could be in a variety of other ways that maybe they haven't felt like they've been, like able to tap into.
I can imagine these women who are performers, someone coming in, stranger, talking to them, and not asking them the typical. Like when I talk to a musician, I don't go, "Hey man, tell me about this." You want to know about their lives. Everyone has a story. So for someone to come in and talk to them, they probably really appreciated that.
Yeah. The girls, who work at the clubs around here are all like super excited about this. All following along with this, all feel like they're, even if they weren't in the film, I feel like they feel like they're a little part of it. And my point of view, I feel like they are. So,
So the Gold Nugget, is it the community that the Gold Nugget is located in? Is it a place that's accepted, or is it a place that's like, don't go near that place? Or
you mean the community of Spread Eagle, Wisconsin?
Yes, the community of Spread Eagle, Wisconsin.
It's an actual place.
That's what it's called.
I have a shot of the sign that says Spread Eagle, population, whatever. It's a very conservative area. And, so is Green Bay. So, we live in a very conservative part of the world. And so far, I haven't really personally received any sort of pushback or, protesting or angry, no one's been angry, which has honestly surprised me. I'm, of course, prepared for backlash once the film comes out and, questions. But honestly, I encourage people to ask questions, to educate themselves, to, talk about it, have discussions, because that's how we change.
It is asking a lot these days.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is.
Yeah. And like she said, especially in a community like Green Bay, if we were living in San Francisco and coming out with a movie like this, but we're not. So
I get it. Were you able to interview or talk to any of the regulars at the
no, we weren't. And I thought about that. I thought about, but no regulars. There were some regulars that are extras in the film. So they agreed to come in on a day that the club was closed, and they had a blast, I think.
Jim is also an extra in the film.
Yeah.
So when my dancing was filmed, he was my customer. So he's in it.
Did he volunteer? He's like, I'll do it.
Yes, actually, and he didn't have a ride that day, so there's a friend of mine who ended up giving him a ride, and I was very thankful for that. But then she is also in the film now because she had to be an extra and her husband. So thank you.
Yeah, we're very grateful.
So this film was completely self-funded.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
There was no
donations. So we did a GoFundMe. And I did receive a grant, a local grant, from a small kind of seed grant facility. And otherwise it's been GoFundMe. My entire crew has donated their time, their production gear. And they're professionals in the industry. I owe the success of the film to them. Honestly, because I couldn't have done it without them, obviously. So
does that make you feel good that they believe in it?
Yeah.
Really, they believe in you.
Yeah, I don't have words for that yet. I'm still in shock, and the amount of, things that I did ask of them was, it was always received yep, no, no rolling of the eyes, just they were there on time, with bells on, and it's it takes a village. And I wasn't even having to be selective about my crew because I have such a good foundation of, it's a predominantly male industry, right? Filmmaking is still, and so my crew's mostly men. But I didn't have to have the talk, be respectful to the ladies, you're going to see some stuff, and
they knew, they just knew.
Yeah. They were all just super professional and wonderful. And you guys felt comfortable around them.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Once this is out, you you're trying to raise money to submit to film festivals, and then will you look for streaming, or will it go to DVD, or how are you going to do that?
I would love to. So for my first film, it's just on YouTube for free because I was like overwhelmed with even starting to look at streaming or distribution services. And so again, the first film, it's funny because it's about a Catholic nun, right? And like a very religious undertone.
I was about to say, that was my next.
Yeah. Yeah. And so now, this is kind of opposite end of the spectrum, but also the same, empowering people, lifting up people that don't always have a voice, being able to help tell stories. So yes, I definitely want to venture into distribution. That's something they didn't teach us in film school, so I don't really know where to start, but I'm going to, that's my next venture after.
Right on.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to do something together next? Do you have your, what's going on after this?
Well, we have our big premiere.
Yeah.
We're doing a premiere in Green Bay, and then one in Appleton, so just a city over, back to back kind of.
When will that happen?
Where?
When?
Oh, when? October 19th is the big premiere in Green Bay, and then the 20th in Appleton. Then we did book a showing in Chicago already, at the Epiphany Theater, on December 8th.
Yeah. And what does that take to book some? I mean, Chicago's not far from you to do something like that.
So actually, I've been fortunate. A friend of a friend works at this theater down there, and so they had reached out to me again without seeing the film, which freaks me out. But I'm like, okay, if people believe in me, it's fine. It's gonna be good. But I didn't really have to pursue that. Otherwise, with my first film, it was submitting to film festivals, and that's how it was shown. So that's kind of
who has seen the film?
Me and there's probably 3 or 4 people, like very, very close friends in the industry that have seen it. So
and Stacy and the other performers, have they chosen not to watch it, or
no? They're not allowed.
Yeah. How open were you to their suggestions?
Well, so I don't think you guys had any suggestions
as far as
like, if you shoot from this angle, or none of that. You just left it.
Thank God you guys did. I mean, it's interesting. I would say what we've ran into with a little bit of like the back and forth would be like for images, like still images. So poster images. There's been a little bit, but I want the girls to be happy and excited for what goes out and what's going to be on, a 24 by 40 photo, like poster.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I didn't even ask you guys about the actual film poster, but the individual posters, we're coming out with like a limited release individual posters. That's going to be very cool. So they were able to choose their images for those.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah. So you gave them that kind of, like, you didn't just take it upon yourself. This is what you get.
Not
Stacy.
with that, but with everything else I did. Because and I would have loved to have involved the girls a little bit more, but at what point, is it
right
where, we have to just keep moving on with the process, and it has to get done. And of course there's going to probably be shots in the film that, maybe the girls are going to be like, oh, I don't look great. But from my perspective, you girls are like the most beautiful women I know. And so it's like, I don't think like that, but I can see, I'm sure there's going to be some shots.
Well, as the filmmaker, as the director, you see the images, what you see, and the beauty you see may not be the beauty they see.
Right.
Who looks at themselves and says, I'm beautiful.
Right.
Everything's bad. Yeah. Everyone finds flaws in themselves.
Yep. And you and I had kind of had a conversation where you were like, I don't love my whatever in that photo, but it's about body positivity. And that's another thing that the film's about, is like embracing who you are as a person, and like, overlooking like flaws. And, it's the story, and it's the message that we're trying to tell. It's not necessarily what's on the outside. It's on the inside.
Yeah.
And that is very true, because I think a lot, a lot of women when they come into the strip club, and I would actually go back and dance if I could have women be my customers, and I would. But only women.
You heard it first.
Yes. But I have a lot of interactions with women when they come in there, and I think that it is like one of the things that they're shocked by is that they expect everybody to have like this perfect body, meet like, traditional beauty standards, be like what they see in the TV. And then they see people dancing who might have some stretch marks or not be a size 2 or be in their 30s or 40s or 50s. And so it is actually really not any of that. It is a lot, I think, mental state of confidence and being in touch with somebody, with your own like sense of self.
Yeah, that was actually something that really shocked me, was like the confidence that you have to go up on stage. Like I could never do it. People ask me like, are you a stripper? No, I would have to be so wasted to get up on stage. Like, no. So like, I just am in such admiration of the women, like still, honestly, after 3 years of like, you go girl, like killing it.
No, I completely understand that. I'm a man, I'm a guy. And there's a part, what I do for a living, I'm a guitar tech. There's a part of the show for the band that I work for. I carry out a guitar, and while the singer's doing his gift of gab, I sit there with the guitar on stage, and I'm there, and I'm sucking in my stomach, and I'm doing this, and because I have an arena of people, and I think they're all looking at me. Right. Nobody gives a shit that I'm up there, but I'm just up there, so I can imagine what it's like. What was it like for you, Stacy, coming back and then not only doing it, but having it filmed and knowing that more people than are in the club are going to see this?
I feel like I had to just not think about that in the moment of doing it. I just had to. And that's why it was so important that Jim was there. If Jim wouldn't have been there, my mind would have maybe thought about that stuff more. But I just had to, when you go, for me at least, I can't speak for everybody, but when I go on stage, I go into a different mode. Like even just like Allison, my dancer name is Allison, is even maybe a little bit of a different like personality than Stacy, like a little bit of a different persona. So like once you get in those shoes and the makeup and the outfits and stuff, it can just start to kind of like push you towards that. And I think about that all the time because it just got to be for me, it was just like, what, you know what I mean? Like it was just my job. It was what you do.
Yeah. That was my next question. You go by Allison. Is that a different, you like you just said, you get in a different mindset to do it. And then once the heels come off, you're like, okay, I'm Stacy again.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the phase of my life where literally I'm like tasked to have to maybe like integrate the two and like pick the parts that I want to like keep from this experience and carry forward. And because I don't want to leave I don't want to leave Allison behind completely. No, even after I move on from this experience.
You can't.
She's a party.
No, and I do. And I really do want to build, like, for me personally, if I were to like build any kind of audience around my story, I do want it to be women. That's the thing that I think maybe I feel like might be misunderstood at this point. I actually don't even want to be perceived by men right now. Certainly not in that way. But I do feel like that I have a lot to offer women in terms of just, about some of that body positivity stuff, gaining some of that confidence, feeling like they have license to explore their sexuality in whatever ways they want or wear whatever they want on their own terms. And, like a lot of the men that come in there are coming in there, like I said, they want somebody to talk to, or they want somebody to vent to, or things like that. Ladies, come on down and I'll listen to you talk about your baby daddy instead of the other way around, because
yes. That's also very interesting because in the film, I do focus a lot on, from what the girls have told me in their interviews, like the perspective of men when they come in, but also there's a perspective of women that is very judgy towards the girls. And like, I feel that same sense of like, don't talk about her that way. Like, she's my sister, just like get to know her, but women have a stigma too of dancers, and it's
totally
unhealthy.
Totally.
Yeah. So
100%.
See?
You know?
Yeah.
Men-
I don't feel like it should be that
Men
way.
will look at a dancer in this way, and a woman will look at a dancer in a completely a 180.
Yeah.
It's almost like a vicious,
Yeah.
you know.
But a lot of women are surprised when they actually come in there. And they will feel like they can get something out of the experience as well. So I would actually encourage women to really take up space in the strip clubs for a variety of reasons. One, that they can, like get some of that for themselves. They can see what it's all about. But also because then maybe if there are like creepy things that guys are doing, well, if there's a bunch of women around there, they might be more accountable, not behaving that way.
Right. So you're doing the premiere October 19th, 20th, one in Green Bay, the other in
Appleton, Wisconsin.
Appleton. Where is the premiere?
So the October 19th is at Backstage at the Meyer Theater. So it's a historic theater downtown Green Bay. And then in Appleton, it's at a nonprofit called the Photo Op. So it's an old church that they turned into. It's like a resource center for photography, video geeks like me. So
And where can folks find out about Gold?
Social media, right?
Yeah.
We don't have like an official website, which I maybe should do, but we have a Facebook page, Instagram page, just Gold the Documentary.
And it's constantly being updated with.
Yep. I have an amazing PR woman that is.
Yeah, give her a shout out.
Yeah, Megan Dorsch has been just my biggest asset, honestly. I don't use social media a whole lot, so she has just. Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't even be here if not for you guys and Megan, helping.
Megan just reached out. I reached out to Jim.
Yeah.
And then I threw in, hey, maybe Stacy might talk. And then he said, we'd love to. And then I didn't hear from him. Then I get this book from Megan, this novel. And
She's
I'm like,
professional.
And then I replied with, cool. So, well, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for opening up and talking to me about this. I'm really excited. I hope, you keep me updated on when this is going to be released, where everyone can watch it. We'll definitely help you promote it.
Okay.
But thank you guys for taking the time. Our podcast, it's called Is Breakfast Included? And if we were having breakfast, by the way, real quick, there was a 24-hour strip club in Dallas called, what was it called? I can't remember, but they had
24 hours.
Yeah,
Jeez.
they had a buffet.
Yeah.
And then so at a certain time they would change the buffet to breakfast and they called it legs and eggs. Anyway, if we were having breakfast, what would you guys have?
Oh. Well, I'm a vegetarian.
Me too.
You're a vegetarian. So
I like a good breakfast burrito.
Yes. I do like a good breakfast burrito
potatoes,
too.
Salsa.
My guiltiest pleasure for breakfast is when you're staying in like those like cheap hotels and they have the continental breakfast and they have like the powdered eggs and apple juice. I love it.
Powdered eggs, man. That's,
But yeah, otherwise breakfast burrito is definitely, in general, I'm not really a breakfast person, but we're a brunch.
Oh yeah, brunch.
Yeah.
Can folks follow you guys individually on Instagram, or would you rather just follow the Gold documentary?
Well, my Instagram is like not that exciting, but I need to change that. You follow me on Facebook, Stacy Stanton-Runge, and definitely follow the Gold the Documentary Facebook page and Instagram page.
Definitely. And what was your other documentary called, Paige?
Seeds of Life.
Seeds of Life. You can find that on YouTube.
Correct. Yep.
Guys, it was so good. Ladies, it was so good talking to you again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Keep in touch, really.
Okay,
because we'll definitely help you promote it on this end.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. It was fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Right on. Paige McKenna Grube, Stacy Stanton-Runge. I want to thank them for taking the time to do this. If you want to find out more about Gold the Documentary, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Gold the Documentary. If you're in the Wisconsin area, October 19th, they're premiering the movie in Green Bay at Backstage at the Meijer. October 20th in Appleton at the Photo Op. And of course, on December 8th in Chicago at the Epiphany Theater. If you're in any of those areas, please show up, show your support for these independent artists. While you're online, check out isbreakfast.com, follow our YouTube page, check us out at Apple Podcasts, rate and review the show, and then go to our shop if you're tired of doing all that, and pick up a shirt. It'll make you feel good. I promise. All right, guys, I am done. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next week.